Good evening, Libby. Nice to see you again. And already I can see lots of colour on that canvas behind you. So please tell us a little bit about your day.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Yes, it's been a good day. I got up early and I didn't turn the internet on. This is a good tip. Do not try and do both. So yeah, that's why yesterday didn't work so well, because if you start doing the office work, you do the whole day. But today I started with the painting. Let me see if I can get a close-up for you. So yesterday I'd already done the greens. This goldy colour, I have left it untouched, but you will see in between I've taken some purple and I'm putting in the purple as a ground colour, as is my way. I think we mentioned earlier.
Okay, so this will be, I mean, that's the soil, isn't it, between the vines, basically. Yeah. But, you know, if you look at soil, sometimes it has a whole load of colours in it. And I think that's a really good basis for you building up the density of the colour.
Yes. And also, I'll pose a question to your viewers, see if they can answer in the comments box. Being as I want these vines to be very bright yellow at the end of it, can anybody answer the question as to why I chose purple for the ground?
Very good question, Libby. Okay, we'll put that over to our people who see this on YouTube. And please, after you've clicked like, share and subscribe, of course, write in the comment box and please tell us why you think Libby did that. Okay, Libby.
And so also the red in the corner here, I don't know if you can see, and this red, which is kind of a bush, that probably won't stay red. This is an underpainting technique, which I quite often do because I like to use a different, often complementary colour to do as an underpainting. And this may well end up green, but it's a work in progress and I'm not entirely sure yet. So, but that's how it's gone today. So it's been quite fun just adding in these big swoops of colour.
Well, it's always this work in progress question, and what you're doing. This is something that I often talk to my students about when they're painting, even though it's in watercolours. It doesn't matter, it's a creative painting process. But I often say to them, get some colour on everything, and then you can go backwards and forwards and decide what needs adjusting. So that's sort of what you're doing there. So yeah, if that's what you think, yeah, it's a valid comment, yeah.
Yeah, I would very much agree with that, actually. I've actually got a little place here that's white and a little place here that's white because they're two buildings that are going to go in. And in a sense, they distract the eye. I've heard it said that white can kind of kill the painting, like the white canvas. And it's actually good to knock all of the plain white out. That you don't want anyway, unless you want white at the end. I know with watercolour painting, sometimes it's nice to leave a few gaps so the whole thing can breathe. But for me in my work, where it's all the colours are right close up next to each other, then it's good to get rid of that white as soon as possible, because then you can really see how the colours react next to each other.
And of course, when you're working with a medium like oils or acrylics, you can put it back in if you want to. It's not a problem. But also what you're talking about, pulling the eye, I often say draws the eye. There's a difference between having a focal point and something that just says, ouch, look at me. I'm in the wrong place or I'm the wrong colour. Do you think that true? You think that the same?
Yes, I do. And also one thing that's important to think about with all of this, when you're mixing up colour on your palette, it can look very different to when you lay it down onto the canvas or the paper, depending on which colours you've got next to it. So it's kind of important to get rid of the white as soon as possible so you can see those relationships, because the colour doesn't really exist in solitude.
No, yeah, exactly, Libby. And that is something else I'll just point out for my watercolour people that I often say to them. When they're getting started or choosing their colours, I say, put a bit of colour on the paper you're going to be using so you can see what it looks like, because we all know the colour in the block of paint or in the tube looks totally different when it's actually on the surface you're going to see it on. So yes, and that's great. So that's we agree on that. So that's another good thing. Great. So so you're happy with what you're doing at the moment. I'm loving the naturalness of the colours in the distance, actually. Do you think those might stay the same?
I think they might. I think what I've decided to do is, keep these pretty much the same. I may add a glaze layer when everything's dry, so I can just push the shadows a little bit and play with that. But I might have quite a strong foreground, just to have a little bit of contrast between high impact colour and softer colour in the background.
Yes, and also with a lot of these things, it is knowing when to stop, isn't it? This is the difficulty, this is the challenge with a lot of my students. You get, I say, look, you're careful, you're going to overwork it. But I think, it's like having a relationship. I suppose you know when it's right and when it isn't. moving on, if I may. Okay, so you're happy with the way it's going. It's looking great. I'm very impressed at how much you've got done today, but I'm going to move on because I see something in the bottom of the screen there leaning against the canvas, and I think this might be the question that we said the subject we would talk about this evening was the dreaded merchandise.
Yeah.
So would you like to show me what that is down there, please, Libby?
Yes. This is where it all began. So this is a limited edition print, which in art world terms doesn't count as merchandise. A limited edition print is a respectable way of reproducing your work to make it more available for an audience that can't necessarily spend 3,000 euros on a painting. You can make the work more affordable. Some artists say that you still shouldn't do this. There's been a whole lot of argument about the types of print. So a lithograph is a print that's made, it's an original process. You only make the print and then you make a certain limited number of prints. Now the kind of prints I make are not lithographs, it's a digital copy. And that really, some people don't like that at all. In the art world, it's not seen to be a true authentic print. The thing that makes it valuable actually is the fact that it's limited edition, and I sign them all, and I only make 20. So I had a big decision to make when I first started thinking about doing anything like this. Prints were the first thing, and I'll show you a few more in a minute, because I didn't want to devalue the original. And there's lots of schools of thought on this, but it generally polarizes into, if you're a true artist, you should just be painting. And then other people think, well, you still need to, not everyone can afford a painting. So if you make something more affordable that more people can buy, then you're more likely to earn an income. So it's a difficult balance. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts.
Yes, it is a difficult one, and let's face it, you can't go to any substantial gallery or museum these days without tripping over the opportunity to buy in the boutique. And poor old Monet, Renoir, Van Gogh would be spinning in their graves, I think, if you think about the umbrellas, mugs, and goodness knows what else. Probably spinning more because they haven't got their percent, I would think. But it is a double-edged thing. I mean, you're quite right. The limited edition print is super and it's lovely. But I think with the other things that you are doing, the other prints, for example, one mustn't overlook the opportunity to get your work in front of more people who maybe one day will be able to afford to buy a Libby Page original. And I think if they're done to a good quality and with integrity, then, why not? Yes.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I've started making more recently is a series of cushions. And for me, it very much depended on the actual quality of the cushion. I was sent an email by a company that I'd been in contact with saying that they are now providing this service and offering a sample. So I got a sample sent, and I was still quite unsure of whether this was something I was going to pursue. But as soon as I got it in my hand, I just loved it. It was very, I've just got the cover with me. I haven't got a filled cushion, but I don't know if you can see, but they're so soft. They're really, and they're soft, and they're really well made. They're lined. It's very, very good quality. I shall try not to get it on my painting. It's vegan suede. Not a lot of people know what vegan suede is, but it feels like suede. It's basically a synthetic fabric. It feels like suede, so it's lovely and soft, but it's not made from cows, which is good.
Yes, and also, Libby, I mean, that is a lovely tactile object as well.
Yes.
And it you know, when you think about a lot of what you're painting, you've got the softness of the canal, the flowing of the canal, the trees, and then you've got this huggable thing. So it sort of has a connection. What else are you doing?
I think so. Well, I've made a calendar actually every year for the last, I think I've been doing it since 2015. I've just got the 2016 edition and the 2017 with me. That's something actually that my gallery encouraged me to do, because I often have an exhibition just before Christmas, so it seemed like quite a good thing to do. And it's funny, they're actually turning into a nice little back catalogue. Every year I've got these 12 paintings that I've done in the year, and that's actually a great reference for me. And I'll often have people ordering, if I've got any left, ordering kind of back copies. Some people tell me that they cut them out and put them on their wall. I think with this whole thing, the reason why I'm going with it is because I'm not really a very pretentious person. I think it's important to kind of surround ourselves with beautiful things if we can. And I want to kind of make my work a little bit more accessible to people. So yeah, with the cushions and the calendars, it's just nice to have that little extra splash of colour in your home when you might not be able to take a
Yes, I agree with you. And I mean, at the end of the day, you do have to earn a living, as gruesome as it may be. But, you know, but also, as I said, it gets your work in front of more people. But I think you've got something a bit wacky you're going to show us as well. A little bit funky, as we might say.
Okay, so you have to use your imagination. This one is I've been involved with it because for me it's a joke and going along the lines of not being a pretentious artist. And I think sometimes there's a little bit of the emperor's new clothes about artwork sometimes. And so this project really appealed to me. It's a gentleman who's based in Sète in France. And he's come up with this concept to have a tin can filled with nothing. Nothing's in there, but it's not.
No, yeah, okay, I'm working with you on this, Libby. I think, what is it, fresh air or something?
Fresh air, exactly. The name of the project is the Véritable Air de Sète.
Lovely.
So the real air of Sète. So basically, it's a souvenir for tourists, and you get it inside this nice little box. And then inside
can I ask the question, how much are these going to be on sale for? Do we know yet?
Yes, I did ask him yesterday. They're retailing at €10.
Well, €10 is, you know, nobody can complain about that. It's nice and lightweight to go in your luggage. And if nothing else, you can stand your mug on it or something and look at a beautiful painting by you.
I'm tempted to open one, but I think it will probably devalue the whole concept. Yeah, anyway, so that was really just a bit of fun. I'm not selling these myself there. They are on sale at the tourist office instead.
Well, Libby, we're getting towards the end of our time, but I just quickly want to ask you about the Paris project.
Ah, yes. So that last year I was approached by a fashion company in Paris and asked if I would be willing to share with them some of my images of my paintings to be put onto merino wool jumpers. And so we worked together and they came up with five different kind of models of jumper or gilet or cardigan using 3 of my paintings.
Well, that's really super. And all the pictures and details are on your website, aren't they?
Actually, they're not.
Then
Because
then that's something for you to do tomorrow, I think.
Well, they're being released into the shops this coming winter. And I'm not actually selling them myself. I did a very short sale, and there may well be some available at my exhibition in October in Azille. But they're not, I don't have the capacity to act as a shop. So I took some pre-orders, but I can't get into kind of handling sales or returns, or if it was the wrong size. This has been another thing actually with the whole merchandising question. It's important to kind of advise anybody that's thinking about doing this that it takes a huge amount of time actually. So on the one hand you think, oh great, I'm generating an extra income. On the other hand, it eats into studio time.
Well, that's great, Libby. I think that's really, I can see that our time is coming up to the end. But before we say goodbye, I just want to say it's been very, very nice talking to you over this 3-day period, and I hope it has helped. I hope it has helped get you in front of more people, and it has kept you on your deadline, on your schedule, as it were.
Yes, thank you.
But also, I'd like to suggest to anybody who's watching it, please do post your comments and ask any questions, and one of us will get back to you about that. So, all that remains to say is thank you very much, Libby Page.
Thank you, Nicola. It's been a very enjoyable process.
Okay, I'm sure we will do something similar in the future. Otherwise, I will see you at your exhibition on Friday.
Oh, lovely. I'm looking forward to seeing you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.